Hello, I'm Lise Colucci. I'm one of the life coaches at queenbeing.com, where we help you to discover, understand, and overcome narcissistic abuse in toxic relationships. Hi, Vicki, and hello, welcome. Today, we're going to talk about 27 signs of abuse. 27 signs you are being emotionally abused. So, with that, want to say, well, happy Thursday. I hope you guys are all doing well today. And if you need any help with anything related to narcissistic abuse and relationships, recovery, understanding, any of it, head over to queenbeing.com. Lots of information over there. It's also information on where to get support, such as peer support or coaching support. It's all over there. And hi, Karina and Jack and Angela and Vicky. Hello, you guys. And also, if you need help, coaching help, there is a 35% off going on through January 1st with coaching with me. Just check it out over there. So also, if you want texting notification of my going live, text me at 33222, put the word Lise Live, LISELIVE, hit send, and I will text you 10 minutes prior to going live every time. All right, you guys, today we're going to talk about 27 signs of being emotionally abused. So we'll just get on that and start talking. And you guys, we'll probably end up with more than 27, but we'll start with that. All right. Hey, Kay, Kobe, and Jack, and Karina. Who else did I miss here? If I missed you, hello. I'm sorry. How you guys doing today? And also, if you ever have questions or anything you need help with, go ahead and add it to chat, and I try to answer them as I see them. So, okay. These are not in any order. These are just signs that you are in a relationship where there is emotional abuse going on. If you start adding them all up, you will see that this is not a good situation. Okay. Number one is you're walking on eggshells. You walk on eggshells all the time. You're always feeling around your partner like you have to tiptoe around everything you say, or else there will be an explosive or minimally silent treatment, or something will happen. So you're always feeling the feeling of walking on eggshells. Hello, Anna May, beautiful you. Okay. Number two, you dissociate as a survival mechanism when you are in stressful situations, especially as it pertains to your partner. You notice that you kind of aren't all there when they are speaking to you in certain ways when there's stress. Number three, you sacrifice your needs for your partner, even to the point of lacking a sense of self. In other words, you are completely enmeshed and entangled in the relationship to a point where you don't actually have a life, because you're sacrificing all your needs in order to create relationship with this person. You are texting them nonstop because they're texting you nonstop throughout the entire day. Your every thought is on what they want, what they need, how to better make everything okay around them, so on and so forth. Oh, good. You have finally figured it out, and no more eggshells. Excellent. Okay. And so anyway, so that entangled, where your thoughts, your feelings, your everything, all of your energy is being directed toward that person. And you're sacrificing all of your own likes, wants, wishes, needs in order to do so. That's toxic. All right. Number four, pain and health issues that are kind of unexplained. They could be explained, but often they're just onsets of health issues and pain that is worsened by the stress and doesn't seem to be resolvable. It's just like a lot of people have chronic pain or autoimmune types of things happen. So there's that. Number five, a mistrust in others. Starting to and continuing to have the feeling that everyone has some ulterior motive, because you're used to your partner always having an ulterior motive, right? You can't trust what someone says on the outside. You're always assuming the worst of other people, or assuming something bad, or assuming something's going to happen, or just there's lots of assumptions going on toward other people. Especially if you have never been that way before, and suddenly you just can't trust anyone anymore. Number 6. So feeling of self-harm and ideations of self-harm can be a sign, because especially if it's never been there before. If it's never been there and suddenly you're feeling like hopeless and like you need to harm yourself or worse. These are also a lot of symptoms of depression and anxiety, but you can see that it creates that. And it all directly relates to the abuse, and you can link it back. Right. Okay. So number 7, self-isolating. It's really hard to be around people when you're stressed out and anxious and always having to think about the needs and pleasing this other person in your life. Right? Self-isolation is, it just feels like you want to hole up and not be around people. Growing up is wonderful. You're right. I was, so trusting, it was shattering. More conscious now, very observant. So there's a thing about mistrusting others. There's a difference between that and learning that you can't really trust everyone. You know what I mean? This is like when you used to be fairly trusting and suddenly you think even the person at the bank has something against you, or, like you just can't trust anyone's motives because you've been told and taught that people are, that you're not enough and you're not worthy and you're not, it all links to, so let me go further on and we'll come back to it. Okay. What did I say? Blaming self and complaining to others. So you might complain about your partner, but then in the end, turn the blame and accountability back onto yourself. In other words, there's this knowing that something's wrong, the cognitive dissonance, right? The knowing that something's wrong, and you might tell someone, but then you twist it around to being like, well, there's 2 sides to every story, and I'm guilty too because blah, blah, blah. Some people just blame, and that's one thing, but blaming or just are pointing out the abuse. And it's this weird empty thing of like pointing out the abuse to your friends and them just staring at you blankly because, right, it just sounds like normal relationship complaining, or they don't know what to do, or lots of reasons. But oftentimes we then shift the blame back onto self, or shift the accountability back onto ourself. I said to my friend, says Jack, if I start complaining about her, tell me so I can stop. Right. The sensation I get is like a rock or a pit in my stomach, butterflies too, since going no contact, there isn't that same constant blockage there anymore. And we'll get to that. That sounds like anxiety and like physical manifestations of anxiety. So we'll get to that when whatever number I've got that as. Let's see. Self-sabotage and self-destruction. It's sort of like we set up situations and then we don't follow through with them. The reason we start, especially in other interpersonal relationships, this will happen. You might have friends. You set up time to go hang out with them. And then somehow we engage with the narcissist. The narcissist, we know what's actually happening. What's actually happening is they don't want us to put our attention elsewhere. And so they are sabotaging us. But something about in that as well can become self-sabotaging. So it's sort of like they're teaching us how to self-sabotage, right? And we can do that further. Well, like sometimes it's not because of the narcissist. We're just exhausted from the abuse and we start canceling things with friends. We start backing out on things we say we're going to do. In a sense, kind of self-sabotaging the relationships and the experiences we have in our lives. And that's just one example of how, and I think I've done a whole video on self-sabotage and we could do another one, but because it continues even after the abuse. A lot of these things continue after the abuse. This is the problem. This is the stuff we got to heal. But when you're in it, it's so overwhelming. It's hard to see sometimes. And it's hard to validate that you're actually experiencing all this all at once, and then some, right? I gaslight myself there. And that's what I'm going to get to as well. Stop gaslighting yourself, right? Okay. Fearing the positive is number 10. Fearing the positive or success, right? Seems odd, right? But it's a big one. Fearing the positive, fearing success, the feeling of impending doom when you have something good going on, something great's happening, and you feel like something bad's about to happen. Or the other shoe is going to drop and it's just going to be taken away. So why bother? So fearing or negating the feelings of positivity that are out there and that are happening in your life. And that sticks for a long time after abuse too, with a lot of people. That's another place there people often have to heal from and realize that life is ups and downs, and that just because something's bad and then something's good and then something bad might happen doesn't mean that you shouldn't also experience the good, right? But the narcissistic abuse teaches us that every time you're given, it's the dangling of the carrot, right? It'll just be jerked further away from you. Or every time you're put up on a pedestal, you're going to be knocked down. That love bomb devalue cycle sets up this feeling in us. Hello, Martha. Okay, number 11. You're protecting the abuser. There's a sign of the abuse. You are not allowing that person to have accountability for their actions, and you're protecting them and covering up their actions by gaslighting yourself. Yeah. It's part of the cognitive dissonance that you're not doing it on purpose to yourself. It's the way the narcissistic abusive relationship, or the way the narcissist needs other people to take accountability, and the way they need everything to be hidden and secret. They need their mask protected. The whole purpose of their life is to protect that mask and to protect that ego, right? So they need everyone who's close to them and intimate in their life to also be protecting that mask and that ego. They don't like it when they have their weaknesses, so to speak, or their negative things that they're doing exposed at all. They don't like it. And so we're taught by them very cunningly to protect them, protect that situation. And in a sense, what we're doing unwillingly and unknowingly is gaslighting ourselves by taking that accountability. They choose people who are able to take accountability for their actions. They choose people who are able to pick up the slack for other people and carry the burden of other people's problems very often. They choose empaths often for a reason, and they choose people pleasers for a reason. Whether or not they know they're doing it, I don't know, but it seems to be a pattern, and it seems to be one that sets up this particular situation where we, of course, then protect them. What happens then is when you finally say what's going on, people don't, but it was perfect. I didn't know all this was going on, is what you usually hear. Oh my God, I didn't know all this was going on. Or, well, there's two sides to every story. People don't actually believe it because they can't see how bad it was. So that's a really, really difficult one. And it is a kind of form of self-sabotage because we don't get the support and validation we need. We don't mean to. It's not on purpose. It's just the way the abuse cycle creates. It's like a reverberation of the abuse cycle, right? Okay. You experienced everything so far, right? Okay. She would have a real go at me at home if I argued with her in public. Oh yeah, you don't even have to argue. All you have to do is point out one tiny thing. And yeah, I never told anyone I was embarrassed. And that's just that is the part where we're gaslighting ourselves, and we're in a sense self-sabotaging our own escape, right? Because we are covering up and hiding out of fear and embarrassment what's actually going on. We're taught to be shameful of these things. We're taught that it's our fault. We're taught that we see, okay, I can remember part of it was I could see the potential and the goodness and all of this other stuff in this person. And so I wanted to protect that part from himself. Even though I wanted him to see that part. It's like this confusing, it's not my place to do either, really. That's theirs. but we take it on because we see it and we know we can help with it and, all these things, but it's really up to the person. About hello, hence there are no consequences for their behavior. Exactly. Hence they won't even see it even if we filmed it, took a video of it and showed it to them, they would find a way to make it your fault. So there's that too. Hi, Violet. Jack is saying that they then say they thought they were lovely at first, later saying that we didn't show our true argumentative defensive self. Exactly. Yeah, they twist it. They twist the whole thing around always. So there's a reason these things happen. It's not that we're like, oh, I think I'm just going to cover up for someone who's treating me bad because I feel like doing that. No, it's like you're groomed into it. It's a slow process, and this is the outcome of how it is. In order for us to take accountability for ourselves and stop taking accountability for their actions, I think it's important to see that we are protecting them in certain situations in multiple ways. Not always and not everyone, but oftentimes we're hiding from the truth as well, right? Okay. It's the whole situation is twisted, right? Okay. I'm sure even a serial killer has one or two good qualities. With the certain people and the way empathy works, they could probably find it, right? Okay. So number 12, the relationship you're in with a person lacks true compassion and care. You feel it. You feel the lack of the compassion and care. You feel it at your core. You don't feel someone is treating you compassionately and with care, let alone empathy. But just those two things are lacking. They may show care in certain situations, but the overall feeling isn't care. They may show what looks like compassion in certain situations. Usually it's when they have a gain to be had, or it's something that relates directly to something they've experienced in their life, and they don't want to be treated badly when it happens to them again. like they may have learned certain behaviors that look like care and compassion, but the whole overall feel of the relationship is not one of a caring, compassionate feeling. Okay. Number 13, you are dealing with immature, confusing, underdeveloped conflict style. When you have any form of debate, conflict, not even conflict, just something that needs to be said in a day that isn't glowing reviews of the mask that the narcissist is wearing that day. You will have all of the toxic behavior that we're always talking about that you're dealing with: gaslighting, projecting, blame shifting, all that stuff going on, instead of an adult conversation about a topic that is in any way potentially a conflict between you and the other person. You deal with so much confusion and so much of like an emotionally unintelligent, emotionally immature reaction from this other person, that at a certain point you comply often just to make it stop. You comply to mitigate the damage, to sort of end it without the big explosive ending that they need to have, or the silent treatment, or all of that. You're dealing with that kind of thing. And I would throw silent treatment in there too. Dealing with emotional immaturity, especially when it comes to any form of a person needing to take accountability for an action. That's all you have to do. That's the big one, right? To the lack of compassion, Jack saying, I actually said in despair, do you actually have any compassion? It was mind-blowing, the lack of compassion, right? And Violet is saying, they will silently withhold support right when you need it the most. Oh, yeah. Right when you need it. And you can even ask for it like you're supposed to be able to in a relationship. Not in a needy, clingy way, but in a like, hey, I really could use a whatever right now. I could use a hug. I could use someone to listen, whatever. That's right when they withhold it, isn't it? They put the net down right when you begin to fall, and they drop the net to the ground. Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. All right. The game, says Anime. When I gray rocked, my mom lamented that we didn't get to really talk and catch up. Oh, yeah. And how much she missed me. So the next time I saw her, I felt bad and tried to open up more. Silence. She didn't engage or talk to me at all. I went no contact the next day. And therein you saw the pattern. And so you had to end the toxic exposure, right? I'm sorry, it's the truth, but it sometimes is, right? We have to be safe. The negative energy coming from them is so scary. It feels physical. It sure does. All right. Okay. So number 14, you may become angry and reactionary when you never used to be. You may be feeling just like your nerves are raw. If you are in an abusive relationship, you may have just like nothing left to give when it comes to your patience. You may be like I was told, I just thought you were grumpy. I just thought you were a grumpy person. And frankly, I am grumpy maybe a few hours a month now, literally. And usually it's tired or hungry, and it's minimal and it's quick. I was grumpy all the time. I was told, I just thought you were grumpy. I thought you were really nice, but grumpy. And now I see that you're not grumpy. Wow. So yes, we all get so defensive. We are so grumpy. We get angry. We get reactionary. We get exasperated, fatigued, tired, that kind of like, ugh. Yeah. Life is just when you're in the middle of a toxic relationship, isn't it? All right. Mine would say I had anger issues. Yeah, they were the issue. And you were angry because you were treated badly. It makes sense. All right. Hi, Belle. I'm sorry about your dad. Okay. Your whole family would gang up on you for it. That scapegoat position is no fun, is it? They try to exasperate it, says Iraq. Get off on seeing it when we are at our rock bottom. Oh, yeah, because then they have a perfect excuse for why they treat you badly, right? For sure. Grumpy all the time, says K. Kobe, except when I'm away from the house. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it can go further, and when like being away from the house, you're just grumpy all the time. You're just tired and worn out. And yeah. All right. Number 15, you are constantly trying to prove your worth, or you're constantly apologizing for what you've done, which is kind of proving your worth. Does that make sense? There are people who constantly apologize for everything, even when you don't really know what they're apologizing for, they're apologizing. Or they're trying to prove their worth by over-explaining themselves, overthinking every situation, as constantly trying to prove their worth. Because a narcissist is constantly devaluing your worth. I mean, it makes total sense why that would get set up in your head, no matter who you are, that you then got to prove yourself all the time. So that is a sign that you are around someone who is toxic. And okay. All right. Number 16. You lack boundaries. You lack boundaries. Maybe you used to have boundaries and you don't have them anymore. Maybe you never knew what they were because you weren't taught them. But you're lacking of boundaries around the toxic person. In other words, we know what they're doing. They're continually pushing. They're continually pushing the line, right? So we may have something we are saying no to, just a no. Okay. Or I don't want to do that. They will push that back. I don't want to go wherever. Well, if you don't go, then I'll find someone else to go with, and I'll go get a date or whatever, So they push you. So you're like, fine, I'll go. I don't want you to do that. That's, whatever. I can see where I'm not being very giving here. I'll go do it. And you do the thing. So now you've already had that boundary broken. Then you get to the thing and you're like, you know what? I really don't enjoy this. I only really want to stay about an hour. Oh no, you end up 5 hours because the boundaries are pushed, and that's a kind of dumb example, but they're constantly pushing. They're constantly pushing the line on every boundary that you set. So you see that within that relationship, you just don't have any. There are none left. There's no way to set a boundary. In other words, maybe not so much do you lack boundaries, but there's no way to effectively set a boundary and have it be respected and honored. And then what happens is we start to lose our ability to have clear, defined, and healthy boundaries outside in the rest of our life as time goes on. All right. Anime says, yep, 100% zero boundaries. Constantly grappling for supply. Yes, no contact. Okay, I've never heard of a boundary except maybe for a dodgeball or something when I was a kid. Just everything hindsight. It's nuts, isn't it? Anime says, I lucked out finding a spouse that introduced me to them. I remember him telling me you're allowed to say no. Oh, isn't that the best? Like, what, really? The freedom. All right. I implemented them, but I don't know what they were. Aware that I was allowed to have them, if that makes sense. I think so. Bella's saying completely, I grew up with no boundaries as an adult, finally learning what they are. See, yeah, they often choose people who have soft boundaries or who are willing to compromise themselves, compromise their boundaries, really, because, or they don't. Sometimes they'll push anyone's boundaries, honestly. Narcissistic person just wants their way. Okay. Okay. What did I write here? I can't read what I wrote, but it looks like it's important. Oh, around the boundaries, your integrity is diminished and compromised. So the integrity, what you feel, your moral code, your integrity, you feel a diminished or a compromised sense of that around a toxic person, and it's a sign that you are being abused when someone pushes that. Okay. Number 17, you feel anxiously addicted to that person. It's not you love them, maybe, okay, but it's beyond that. There's an anxious addiction to being around them or to not being around them, or like a what are they doing? A questioning, always on high alert, always looking for something. If I never have to snoop again, I will be happy. You know what I mean? Like they put you on this, there's this anxious state of always having to be like looking out for the next thing that's going to happen, waiting for something to happen, looking for them to be doing something. It's awful. It creates a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress. Okay. Oh yes, Violet's saying even the small boundaries, like I didn't want to taste something, he would insist until I friggin' tasted it. That's what I'm saying. Like that's exactly what I mean. It's the tiniest things, and the big boundaries you can almost laugh off as somebody that's just being pushy. It's those little and tiny ways that they push that get into it sucks your agency, it sucks your will away, your ability to act on your agency and your will away, because if you don't do it, if you don't compromise, then what? Right? Over time, and with the way that they don't do it all at once at first, right? With the way that that's slowly built up, we just give in and do it, and we compromise our integrity because of it. I normalized anxiety for you. Excellent. Well, I mean, I don't want to normalize anxiety because we don't want that to feel normal, but the experience you had around it. Excellent. The anxious addiction to them is what I was talking about. That's 17. What am I saying here? That anxious was so painfully exhausting, says Jack, isn't it? It is so exhausting. And that's number 18 is exhaustion. Complete fatigue and exhaustion. Adrenal failure, people even have, or adrenal, not failure maybe, but adrenal fatigue is what I'm trying to say, not failure. Adrenal fatigue. Oh, yeah. Gwen can relate to the tasting things. I can too. All right. Decide, yes, anxious addiction. I'm going to do everything. Okay. Yeah. All right. Decided I'm going to feel how I feel. There's no right way to respond to a creature like this. She'll filter it. Yeah, exactly. You just need to feel what you feel and be yourself. They don't let you be a person. My endocrine system started shutting down, the exhaustion, right? Caught her turning to my boy saying, I'm only prepared to drive 3 hours, and winked. It was poking fun at me for setting boundaries. I used to say I'm only prepared to, right? And you caught it on video. Oh my gosh. See, and that's part of that anxious addiction. We have to then spend our lives catching them at the things they're doing because they won't take accountability. And so then we become anxiously addicted to sleuthing this thing out and to living our life around that versus actually having a life. It's exhausting. Okay, so number 18, I said exhaustion. Number 19 is low self-esteem. You might suddenly have low self-esteem. You might have always had low self-esteem, but the low self-esteem is heightened. The feeling of it is heightened because of the devaluing, because of the way that the toxic person has built you up, then knocks you down. They build you up in one way, knock you down in another. I can remember being criticized for something I did. It took too much time. It cost too much money. It was a waste of time. It didn't mean anything. It was just like, you just do this thing all the time and blah, blah, blah. It's just a hobby. It's just, and then when I had someone want to purchase the thing or talk about how, you should sell that thing, suddenly, she's so amazing. You should see the other things she did. You should see how many of these things she can create, blah, blah, blah. I bet she could make a lot of these things. She's amazing. So yeah, what was I talking about that? So anyway, that creates this confusion of what is my worth? I got 1 minute it's a good thing, and next minute it's a bad thing. So that's one way they do it. And they do it a zillion ways. They actually name call you. They actually will put you down. They maybe don't even name call you, but they put you down subtly. They look at you with that look of absolute rejection and put down. That, really? They look at you with that look of disgust and that look of that you've let them down. And that just eats your self-esteem, because if you go back to one of the other ones, you've spent your life sacrificing the needs for your partner and spending all of your time focusing on creating a relationship with this person, focusing on maintaining their needs and wishes, and then to have them knock you down. Of course, it creates low self-esteem, right? And it helps to heighten your already potentially low self-esteem you may already have. This is why self-care, self-love is number one in healing. That's why when people say, where do I start? I say self-care. Because if you don't start working on that self-esteem, it's a cycle that's really difficult to get out of, because what will happen with low self-esteem is we'll start doing all this stuff to ourselves, because the voices of the narcissist and the programming stays up there, right? And it stays in the emotions, it stays in the body. If we don't start holding ourselves with a better posture and actually loving ourselves and caring what we think and all of that, self-esteem is a huge one, right? And that's why you can see how it's set up. Anyway, okay. Looks of disdain or disgust, so wrong, isn't it? I thought he was such a good person, mask dropped. Oh, they can put on, because they don't just walk up and be like, hey, Kay Kobe. And you're just, oh my gosh, they're so wonderful. No, no. They walk up and they're like, oh, you are everything. You are so amazing. And then suddenly it's the looks of disgust. And you were one thing and now you're no longer that thing in their eyes. You were amazing and now you are just crap, right? And so that is super confusing, and it can totally screw with your own sense of self-worth and your self-esteem. All right. Okay. Well, did I miss something? You missed a whole bunch, I'm sure. Okay. So many people around me are so baffled by how I see myself, so critical of myself. Oh yeah, that takes work and practice and reprogramming. Anime, you can reprogram so that you see the amazing person that you are. If I can do it, you can do it. Okay, all right. Okay. All right. So let's keep going. Number 20. You're going to like this one. You feel like you're going crazy. You feel like you're going crazy. You feel like you're crazy. You feel like you're insane. You feel like you've lost your mind, right? What's that from? We know what that's from. 1, 2, 3, let's say it. Gaslighting, right? Gaslighting, the projection, the bait and switch, all of it makes you feel crazy. Trying to have a conversation with someone who is continually gaslighting you makes you feel crazy. I got gaslighted yesterday by a police officer, and I told him not to gaslight me. Probably shouldn't have, but I did. Yeah. So, and I felt that sense of, am I wrong? It made me feel like I was in the wrong when I wasn't in the wrong. And then I got uncomfortable and nervous. And I remembered that's how it feels in a relationship every flippin' day with a toxic person. Yeah. Uh-huh. Thank you. Okay. It does. It makes you feel crazy. Gaslighting is, first of all, it's ridiculous. If you just look at it, if you walked in the room and if you knew the situation and you walked in the room and saw it happening, you just roll your eyes and walk back out. But when you're the one being gaslighted, it can feel so confusing because our minds are active, our minds are engaged, we're listening, we're trying to actively listen to this person, we're engaging with it. Oh, I love you guys too. Hey, Sheriff, gaslight your behind, dude. I didn't say it quite like that, but yeah, I was polite. Still got the ticket. But it was after the fact that I wasn't going to sit and listen to gaslighting. Wasn't gonna. All right. Anyway. So, such validation from me today. Excellent. I'm glad this was needed and is useful. So anyway, yeah, gaslighting makes you feel crazy. It makes you feel crazy. It does. So the number one thing to learn there when you're being gaslighted, when you are with a toxic person and you are saying, oh my gosh, I can relate to minimally half of these, probably all of these signs of abuse. You know you're being gaslighted. Gray rock, please. Stop engaging. The engaging is what our mind engages. It happened to me yesterday. In a split second, I thought I was wrong when I knew I wasn't. I was being convinced I did something I didn't actually do just because of the way the words that were used, the very specific black and white thinking words that were used for a split second. And then my mind was like, wait a minute. And I know, and that if you don't step back and say, wait a minute, and gray rock the situation, and you keep engaging and you keep engaging, the confusion gets worse and worse and worse, because part of your mind is listening to the gaslighting and it's almost believing it. And another part of your mind is like, no, 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 that didn't actually happen that way. And then there's another part of you that's like, how do I make this stop? How do I convince them that my way, that I am right? How do I say it? How do I make myself be heard? So there's all this stuff going on in your head. That's like too many things all at once in any person's head. Oh, it's too much. It's too much. And it's so effective that it's used, it's taught. Okay. He didn't gaslight me because he was an abuser. He gaslighted me because he's taught to talk to people that way. And it's used all over the place. Gaslighting isn't just for abusers, but we have to learn to see it and to gray rock it. I mean, I shouldn't have engaged the way I did, maybe, but I did. And, yeah, the gray rocking really is the answer to it. It's disengagement. Call it what you want. Disengage from the toxic pattern of speech. And the crazy starts to feel a little less. You start to say, oh, the only thing that's crazy is that I'm still sitting here, right? Okay. I will go and fight it. Self-care things, setting alarms to eat and do seemingly little things. Yes. How many narcissists does it take to change a light bulb? Well, that can be answered in so many ways. Leave them in the dark. Okay. All right. What else? Am I missing? All right. I once noticed someone in an office. I called it out, said something like, so someone was acting all nice and didn't mean it. Why do people do this? Woman looked at me in total shock. Yeah, you can't call it. It's okay. Let's keep going. Okay. I have more and we're at 41 minutes. So here we go. What did I say? Crazy. Okay. 21. You're depressed and anxious, even if things are okay. Don't need to say more to that, right? You're in a relationship. You're in the love bomb phase. You're still depressed and anxious. Sums up, right? It's not you. It's what's happening around you. It's situational. It's affecting you, and it's becoming part of how you see yourself, and it's becoming how you feel about your life. Yeah. Okay. 22. And yes, it can be brain chemistry and whatnot, and it can be and all things, but the situation is helping to increase the problem with the brain chemistry. So yeah, we got to get away from it. Crying quietly every morning. Every day. I'm trying to think how many days did I cry in a row? 365 times what? Every day. Crying every day? What? Like, yeah, okay. And that can linger, and we wonder why a year out we're saying, why am I not feeling better? Well, how many years were you with this person crying every single day? Of course you feel bad still. It's not going to just poof go away. It takes time. It takes a lot of self-care. It takes allowing these feelings to process and come out, all of that. So, all right. And for 3 to 6 months every day afterward too, right? Number 21, I believe. Depressed and anxious. Check. Sorry, honey. Yeah, that was 21. Very good. 22. Always feeling nothing you do is good enough. You're always feeling like nothing's good enough. You're not good enough. You are not enough. That is the biggest lie ever. We're all enough. You are enough. Okay. You are enough, but you're feeling like you're not good enough. There's a sign that you have been toxically programmed to believe something about yourself. And if that is going on within that relationship, it's toxic. All right. What did I say? Okay. Questioning others' motives. I kind of touched on this a little, but this is a little different. Number 23, questioning others' motives, the assumptions. I think I did say that. Oh, maybe I only have 26. Well, we can think of another one. think I doubled it. I added it to something else. Anyway, okay. Number 24, you feel invisible. You feel like you don't matter. You don't exist. You are unseenable. You're unseen. You're unheard. You just feel invisible in your whole life. You feel invisible within the relationship in particular. You're with someone who makes you feel invisible. The person isn't listening, talking over you. Oh my gosh. The prime example I have is, what do you want to do today? Oh, I know. How about we, and then they're talking to the dog while you're answering. Like full on his knees, talking to the dog while you're answering the question. If you did that even this much, if you even reach down to pet the dog while they're talking, the whole day is ruined because you're rude and disrespectful. Oh, but they can completely ignore everything you say. Mid-conversation, they turn around and walk away. Every conversation, pulling out something and yeah, getting on their phones while you're having a conversation with them over something they wanted to talk about. So yes, they create the sense of feeling invisible. You are invisible. You don't matter unless they need the supply. And in that situation, the supply is in the ignoring you. Oh yeah, walking away while I'm talking to him. It's validating to know these things are typical for people like us. They are super typical. Yes, I feel like a ghost. Yeah, you feel almost like you don't have a body sometimes, right? Okay. Ironically, if we could be invisible to them, the world would be better. But it's not true invisibility, right? It's only the parts of us that we feel have worth and matter. What we're saying, we feel like we have no voice. We feel like, I don't know how many people have come to coaching saying, I have no voice. I don't know I can't express myself. I have had people feel like they're just rambling they don't even know what they want to work on. They don't know how to move forward. They don't know how to express what's in their heads and hearts out enough to know how to make the move toward healing. They're completely stuck in this almost stuttering mind speech thing where they can't articulate what they are feeling or what they need, what they want, any of it. It's super common. Also, people will come and just want to talk because they haven't been heard in so long. All right. So that feeling invisible is a big one. If someone in your life is making you feel invisible by the way they treat you in a situation, that is not healthy. This is not a healthy relationship. Is with all these other things is downright toxic, and it's on purpose. All right. It's a form of devaluing to not listen. We all get lazy with the listening. My kids can go on and I can be like, oh my gosh, what are they talking about? I don't mean to be, it's just, I'm tired. We can all get there with enough talking at us, but this isn't that. This is, they directly ask you a question, directly ignore you, stuff like that. Yeah. Okay. As Jack says, yes, I'm listening, and me thinking, but it doesn't feel like it. And it feels lonely. And that's number one. You feel always alone. You feel more alone in a relationship with a toxic, abusive narcissist than you ever will alone, actually alone. I'm telling you from experience, from what I've heard from other people, from anecdotally, whatever, you feel when you are with this person so utterly alone. It is so painful. Honestly, I think a lot of times what we're feeling when we are alone afterwards, when we have that alone feeling, like maybe you're alone at night and you're laying in bed going, gosh, I'm so alone. I'm so alone. I feel so alone. This is horrible. I think we're feeling an echo of that old feeling, because when you used to lay in bed next to that person and you had that feeling of being completely alone, even though you're right there with them, because they aren't actually with you and they're not there for you and they don't have your back and they're not in a real relationship with you. It's devastating loneliness. I think we're at what we're actually feeling sometimes when we are alone, all like legitimately all alone in our own beds and safe and sound away from a toxic person, but feeling alone. Yes, it'd be nice to have someone cozy and cuddled up right next to me, but I think a lot of it is a remembrance of how it felt then, and we can program our brains through finding ways to self-calm that feeling of loneliness. In other words, gratitude. Gratitude for yourself, gratitude for your life, gratitude for other people, for other things, whatever, gratitude lists. Thinking of things that gave you joy in the day is super beneficial when you have those lonely feelings. Especially if you think, am I just remembering? Is this like actually a trigger, this loneliness? I don't know. Actually, I just thought of this. So I'm kind of brainstorming it. It's kind of exciting because I'm going to try it more. Because we all get that, right? Okay. Let's see. Happy parasite-free Thursday to you too. 167. Heck yeah, you're almost getting to the 200s. Excellent. What did you say, Belle, that I missed here? They, at least mine, walks out of the room whilst I'm talking, and I turn around to realize I'm talking to myself. Yep, that's how it is. It's no fun. All right, number 26, difficulty making decisions. You may have difficulty making decisions. That is a sign, especially if you never had that problem before, and suddenly you do, and you're with, and all these other things are going on. I'm going to answer you in just a second, Dawn. Difficulty making decisions is, I don't think I have had a survivor in coaching yet that didn't have difficulty making decisions in their life after the abuse. If this is going on, that's because the narcissistic abuse affects your ability to act upon your own agency, your own will, your own desires, you even know what they are. So that's a huge sign. Couldn't run my business anymore. It collapsed. Right. Can't decide a dang thing. It's a sign of PTSD, of overwhelm, of fatigue, of all those other things, of burnout, right? Self-trust, lack of self-trust, right? Okay, so Dawn, you asked a question here. How do you fix the feelings of cognitive dissonance when you're lonely? I'm still emotionally lonely even now. Help. Take care and thanks. I think what I was saying, it just dawned on me just now. I said dawn to dawn. I just had the realization just now as I was talking that I'm wondering how much of that is a trigger. As a trigger, we feel lonely. We attach to the feeling of loneliness. We're not questioning why we feel lonely. We feel lonely because we're alone, okay? And that's bad in our head. We qualify it as bad. If we actually look at the alone, it's pretty dang good. Being alone is awesome. You have so much freedom. You can list page after page of the reasons why being by yourself and single is fantastic. Yes, it lacks a lot too. You can list a whole page of cons, right? But it's not all one thing. It's not all bad. It's not all lonely, right? We attach to the lonely. We're feeling the lonely because it's a really strong feeling of wanting someone in our life, wanting connection. And if that isn't a possibility at that time, then what can you do for yourself? That is a good question. Number one, I think recognizing that partially, at least for me, what I'm seeing is when I'm triggered to feel that loneliness, what triggered it? Why do I feel it now, but I didn't feel it 5 minutes? Why can I go all day long completely happy and then 10:45 at night hits and it's like a lonely blanket just thrown on me, right? Like I can't see through it. What is this? Right? So why? Why is that? Well, if I'm actually just now realizing that was about the time that he chose to come to bed. What did I feel when he finally got next to me? Absolute loneliness, total disconnect, no connection. Here's this physical connection with no emotional, psychological, spiritual connection going on because the person is a narcissist, right? So I'm wondering how much is a trigger. If it's a trigger, then I would work with it the same way what I'm going to do. And what I think we all experience this. I think every single person probably experiences some level of loneliness at some point in their day, some days of the week. I think that's normal. Just like every person who's in a relationship probably feels the extreme need to run away every now and then. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's looking at the person from a way bigger picture. looking at it from the different perspective that being alone is not bad. Loneliness isn't bad. It's just a feeling. And maybe sometimes we just got to feel it. If it's, why in this particular situation am I triggered to feel it? We should do a whole video on loneliness. That's what we should do. But is that helping any? So what could help is what would help you. What helps you feel comforted? What helps you set it up ahead of time? Like if I know 10:45 is going to hit and this is going to happen, well, why am I just laying there at 10:45 waiting for it to happen? Why did at 10:30 did I not start my gratitude list? Yeah, I could do that. Or I could check in with a friend. I have plenty of friends that are up then. I could check in with a friend, not to have them fill my cup, but to offer to share a moment with a boundary around it. Like I'm going to check in with them. We're going to talk for 15 minutes and that's it. And I'm going to say goodnight on purpose. And then I'm going to go be alone and I'm going to be happy that I had that connection with that friend for 15 minutes or whatever. I could set up, I could play with my dogs for a little while before bed. I could even go take a walk in the evening. I could do like a million things that are different than what I'm already doing, which is just laying there feeling lonely. But once I see the pattern of why it started and if it's a trigger. So there's some ideas. I don't know. This is all just in my head coming out right now. All right. What are we saying here? I don't know if that helped, Dawn, but that's what I do. Start with gratitude too, and start with self-care, nurturing yourself. What do you need? Okay. The last one I have here was actually given to me by a friend of mine when I read them this list, and I said, "Do you have anything else?" And they have experienced this in their life, the abuse in their life, and they said, "Yeah." Feeling that your own emotions are invalid, especially the more negative emotions like anger, frustration, pain, fear, sadness. Feeling that those are invalid. And we know that comes from the blame shifting and the gaslighting. So, and from not being heard. And from when we tell other people what's going on, the covering up of what's going on by softening it or by taking part of the accountability for the narcissist or toxic person's behavior. So learning to validate yourself, right? I can't do these without giving help. I can't just do the 27 signs. Bye now. All right. Anyway. So validating yourself, that is the number one reason people come to coaching, is for the validation. That's the number one reason we do these videos, is for validation, right? I was kind of shocked I didn't have that already on here and way up at the top of the list, but there you go. So feeling that your emotions are not valid, they are invalid, is a sign that you are around someone with someone who is abusive, emotionally abusive to you. Within that relationship, if you're within a relationship, if you're feeling like your emotions don't matter, and they not only do they not matter, they're invalid. It's probably being gaslighted. All right. So I believe a live stream on loneliness and how others cope could be a short topic. It could be a long topic. It could be like hours. Seriously. If I've covered it already, is it common for narcissists to be paranoid delusional? Yes. Yes. I asked that of a therapist and she said, yes, absolutely. There's a delusional component. It's called delusion of grandeur, but it's then what? You have to protect the grandeur. They get paranoid about anything that could get into their fortress. They get paranoid of anyone coming after them. It's yes, I think so. And I'm not a therapist. I was told that by a therapist. So, okay. Holding in for so long, feeling like I was crazy for so long. Live streams, what? They help. Even in live stream like this. Okay. like where they make up bizarre things, maybe reenact. Does that make sense? Yes, I've heard that from more than one person about their toxic, potentially narcissist in their life, that they, make up bizarre things that I mean, what you're saying there, yes, makes sense. And yes, I have heard that. I don't know how common it is, but I've heard it more than once. So yeah. Paranoid thinking about the way the world is out to get them. Hi, Grace. The way the world is against, or not against them, but I'm not speaking it clear because my head was on something else when you asked that. But yes, Dell says therapy today and used the word shame and ashamed 2 or 3 times. He reminded me to turn that round and not use that word. I'm going to try to be more aware of how often I say it. Not easy. Also, maybe what the context of where you are saying it and around what topics it is about, so that you can track how you are viewing yourself and in which situations you're viewing that shamed, where it's coming up. Was almost like a poltergeist in his mind, hard to explain. Yeah, I think that is a common thing that some of them present with. When you're on Social Security, how do you climb out of my ex-husband, I can't even say that word, ex-husband enemies, financial abuse? And that's a topic I want to talk about, getting lives back together, getting lives together. Financial struggle is tough. We're not living in a world where that's an easy answer, because everything is freaking expensive, right? And it's hard to live on our own and to do this on our own. Roommates, friends, family. If you don't know anyone, you could try college areas where there are people who want roommates. Most of the adults I know many adults I know who are single often live in roommate situations in where I am, because it's so expensive in some of the areas. And that's not a bad thing. It's companionship, it's friendship, it's community, it's not a failure. It's a sign of resilience, and other things could, I don't know, like there's so many resources. I'd have to research resources for that. But that is a good topic on how to climb out and find financial security. If I had an easy answer, I'd be lush, or I'd be flush right now. It's a tricky one. It takes time, and being resourceful, finding. Yeah. Okay. We'll talk about that more. I actually have it, that and other things, not just that, like how to I have putting your life back together, so to speak, putting your life together. And that's one of the topics in there. And I just need to do a bunch of research on lots of ideas, because the ones that are in my head are only a few, right? How to be independent is a good topic. Yes, it is. A lot of us are afraid of being alone because of it. And we're afraid to leave because of the lack of independence that we're fearing we can't achieve. Right? So it's a huge topic. It's a great topic. And it's one I welcome ideas for. You can email me or contact me in the million ways you can reach me, right? With your own ideas before I put it together, or we can just plan it and just come in here and talk, because my ideas are going to be only as many as I can compile, right? Other people's ideas make it bigger and bigger and bigger, and that's what we need. So we need to get more people in here. That's what we need to do. All right. Lisa, I think my money is no longer going to waste. I'm free to make those choices to survive. Yes. Okay. You use the word shame and ashamed always about yourself. Oh, yeah. What would you, okay, I'll give you a quick exercise. What would you rather feel instead? Write it down. One word. Okay. One word. What would you rather feel instead? Then make a sentence about that word. Then feel it. Feel that sentence. Whatever that word is, the sentence, and then make a paragraph in the present time. That's what you feel. And that, instead of an empty affirmation, that gives you a wholehearted affirmation. Okay, try it. Word, sentence, paragraph. Word, what would you rather it be? Sentence about what that's like. A paragraph about what it feels like. All right, let me know. Okay, that's it. That's all I got for today. And I gave you an exercise. Yay. All right, you guys. We went long today. So group coaching has started again for the month. You can join anytime, though. I'm thinking of starting a trauma bond group coaching again soon, just for people who are trauma bonded in the middle of trying to leave or having just left. We're all on some levels trauma bonded until we break it. And then there are other groups that are more appropriate for people who have been out a while and are still working with the trauma bonds. This is more specifically because if you've been out a while, the point is we don't want to be dwelling on the trauma bonds. We want to be moving forward, right? You want to be getting over your life. This is for people who are really just trying to leave, still in the situations, can't leave, but are trauma bonded. So working on detaching and letting go, that kind of stuff. Learning to not engage with the trauma, right? With the trauma, with what's not with the trauma, with the abuser. All right. Anyway, don't have a start date for that, probably in a week or two. And I don't know the time yet. That's the problem, is I have to create a time that I'm available and can do that. It will also have a messenger group, so there will be daily support in there. Peer support all the time, my coming in when I can throughout the day. Little bits. And then a weekly meeting. Anyway, there's that. There's the regular group coaching that's been going on Wednesdays and Fridays. That's going on. You can join anytime. Started this week. So Friday still hasn't happened yet because that's tomorrow. Anyway, it's all the links in the main description of the videos. If you haven't hit subscribe, hit subscribe and hit the thumbs up and share the videos and get the word out there so people get the support that they need and help that they need. And I think that's it. Yeah. And remember, 35% off of coaching right now through the 1st of January for the 1-hour sessions. I think that's it. Yeah. Okay. What are you guys saying? What am I missing? Okay. Okay. That's it. All right. If you would like texting notifications, text me 33222. Put the word Lise Live, LISELIVE. Hit send, and you'll get a text about 10 minutes prior to my going live. Otherwise, I will see you guys tomorrow. I don't know what the topic is. I don't have it. If you have any ideas and something you want, let me know soon so I can get it set up for tomorrow. What are you saying, Karina? I'm not in a narc relationship. Can I still do group coaching? Absolutely. The group, you can do either. The group coaching that's Wednesdays or Fridays is pretty much like the stuff we talk about here. It's the moving beyond abuse into moving forward with your life, being stuck from the abuse, being stuck from toxic programming in your head, that kind of stuff, letting that go, moving forward with life. That's the Wednesday and Friday. So the other one I was talking about is one I want to restart again for people who are actively trauma bonded, mostly just leaving or still in, so that they have peers to push through together with it and get out. Okay. Okay. I'll see you tomorrow. And like I said, anyone has any suggestions for topics, you can always add it to any comment of any video. I read those when I can and I reply. And I write them all down and I get to them as I can. Okay. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, guys. Take care.